Woolly Bean podcast. My name is Juanita, and I am the maker, knitter, sewer, maker behind Woolly Bean. And I don't have a sore throat, but we have been fighting. We had a head cold. Well, first we had a stomach bug, then we had a head cold, and then I almost got a sinus infection, and then my daughter got the flu, which somehow none of the rest of us got. We caught it early and all got on Tamiflu, and it's been a difficult beginning of the year. As most of you might already probably know, just because I'm open about it, I suffer from anxiety, and since January I've had a hard time with it again, probably from the winter. And then I also have some, well, I'll talk about it I think maybe at the end of the podcast, because then if you're just here for the makes, then you can just skip ahead to, or just stop watching at that point. So but I just noticed this afternoon that my throat feels dry. I think this is from drainage. I have some tea, and I don't have a lot to share this time, but that's mostly because of my anxiety. I haven't been able to knit, and that's been very weird because it's, you know, it's what I do. It's what I do for enjoyment. Once the kids are in bed always, I usually put on a show and I sit and knit, or in the afternoon when I would like plan my me time for that, like when after lunch usually the kids kind of quiet down and we'll play quietly in their rooms or do different things. Sometimes I'll watch a movie, and I'd usually sneak off to our sunroom and do some knitting, but I haven't been able to. I think part of it is because my let me sip some tea. You know how my, I don't know what level knitter I am. I'm comfortable in lots of techniques, but I still feel like I have lots to learn. But that's probably the case with any hobby. I think no matter your level, you're always able to learn more. So but I can knit, especially the things I have on the needles right now, without having to put too much thought into it. And so when I'm anxious, my anxiety this year, last year it was more manifest physically, and this year it's been more inward, a lot of what if thinking, feeling things should be this way or should be another way. And when I knit, it's too easy for my thoughts to wander. So I usually end up having to do something. So I've been doing some sewing, so I do have some sewing to share, but because I am not as advanced a sewer, and it takes, especially with a pattern that I've not made before, it takes, each step takes a lot of focus, and I've completed a few of my sewing goals. I make 9 sewing. I didn't do a make 9 though. I just had some things. I wanted to make skirts and some summer tops for myself, which I haven't done that yet. And then I wanted to sew some dresses for my girls, especially my older one, because she's outgrown everything and is passed down to the middle, or the youngest one. Anyways, that is a super long introduction. I forget, it has been so long since I've podcasted, I forget kind of how I've done it before, I guess. So I apologize if this is a little more stop and go or not as relaxed, but a friend, my knitting mom, who I've talked about before, she watched the kids this afternoon, so they left a little while ago. I took some time to just kind of chill, and the sun came out, and the sky is blue, and I think it's warm out. When we were out earlier, it was like in the 50s, and I think it's supposed to get to the 60s today. So after this, I'm gonna go for a walk, and I'm excited just because we've been trapped inside, it feels like, for a long time. And I know this is unusually warm, but for many, like in northern climates. They're much, I don't know. I don't have it as bad as they might do in the winter, but still, it's hard. I was raised in Florida. I'm not used to this. Okay, so I'll stop there, and then as my introduction, a rough one, but, oh, you can find me, on Instagram under at Woollybean, and you can, I don't have anything in my shop, but I do have a store where I sell my knitting project bags, so if you would like to go look, you could also check out there, and after I share a few of my makes, I will do just some shop news. So let's get started. I fixed my hair, okay? Anyways, okay, so knitting I'll go ahead and start with because there's not a lot, but I don't have I knit some house slippers, and I love them so much. I wear them every day. And so they're already in need of a wash and whatnot. But if you check on my Instagram, or I'll post a picture here. I think I remember how to do that. So I'll put a picture here, but those are my little house slippers I made, and I had used Pallette from Knitpicks, and I tripled it because I had a bunch of just like leftover gray and I think 2 different colors, and then I had a full yellow, and so I just wound it in its own little ball until I like to trip, because I think the pattern is from Temple of Knit, and it is I think they call for worsted or light worsted. I don't remember, but anyways, I was trying to get something like pretty close, and but I wanted it to be, I always seemed like wear a spot on the ball of my foot. Is that the right spot? Not the heel, below the toes. And so I went down in needle size. I think they recommend like a 6 or 7 or just whatever. They're not real, it's not real strict. It's more of a I can't think of a word, so this is going to be a rough paint podcast. I apologize. I'm sorry, but anyways, it's just some suggestions, and then they give you some rough numbers to kind of figure it out. But very easy to follow, and so I had promised a friend of mine some house slippers a little while ago, and so I started on this pair, and I am using Mittens. I think it is, like, you can get it, there's just sock yarn. I can't even think of, a friend gave this to me a long time ago, like 4 years, and it's a self-striping one, but I don't like striped socks that much, so I have never used it, even though the colors I do like, it's like a gray and red and brown, and I'm gonna apologize for the lighting. It's sunny and it's so pretty out, and so I could have probably sat in a different part of the house that wasn't maybe affected by light. And so I don't know how accurate some of these like the colors are gonna come across, but I think it's a slipper. It's not a huge deal. But I wanted to be in the sun just because this is the brightest part of the house this time of day, and the sun just came out for the first time today, or in a couple days, and I really wanted to be in it. So I lowered a shade so it's not blinding, but anyways, my needle broke. So this is the sad story of a knitting, a project bag maker, knitting project bag maker. I think I've said this before, I only have one. This is an old one, like one of the very first ones I used to make, because I use metal zippers now, and this is when I did like a plastic zipper. So I have this one, which it has soap in it, so it smells delicious, but I keep all my sock projects in here. And I'm a little embarrassed of this bag now because it's not up to my standards anymore, but it's the only one I really have. So I needed something to keep my this sock thing, and so I had it in this like little drawstring bag, and it got stepped on, I'm pretty sure, by a kid. So I just wound up the patterns in triple to get kind of like a weight that I wanted. And anyways, it starts off with, you start knitting it flat, and then you join, and then you get this neat little trick to kind of twist some stitches there so that they are not, doesn't gape there, and then you start knitting in the round. But someone stepped on it, so this is broken, but I think these are 5s, and I do have one more pair of 5s, so I'll just have to take those out and finish that up. And I've been knitting, this is the only thing that I have been knitting on really, because I don't know, like this one doesn't for some reason. I could just knit without, like I can't think too much, but I can't, I don't know. I've been knitting a little bit on that. So the only other thing I really have is my Tecumseh, which I believe the last time I showed a lot on Instagram. I haven't posted any pictures in a long time either. I usually, like when I'm feeling really great, I try to post maybe every other day, or especially when I've got progress on I don't know, just more frequently. I don't know the last time. I think the last time I posted, I don't know if it was my house slippers, but it's been a little while, and I've kind of had to step back. Like I haven't even been on Instagram very much, especially lately in the last couple weeks. I just try not to, I have like a personal account and a business one, but I won't check my knitting one right now, and just because, I don't know, it makes me sad. Like I see all these people like cranking out gorgeous projects, and I want to get back to that, but I don't want to give myself any guilt about it right now. I just want to work on healing and getting back to a better place, and yeah, so, but I wanted to podcast today. Partly that's why I haven't, is because I had nothing to share, but I don't know, I just thought, well, it's been a little while. I don't have my kids. That's not often. It's really quiet, and it's pretty, and I feel good today, so I wanted to jump on here. Anyways, my Tecumseh. And this mug, the cutest. I think last year was on one of my bad days, but we went to we had to go all the way down to Little Rock, which for us is like 3 hours, to get my husband's battery changed on his iPhone. And that's the closest Apple store for us. And so I was like feeling really weird that day, but it was, the only store I went into was what's it called? Oh my goodness. Anyways, they have gorgeous mugs. And I saw this J one, and then I got an R one for my friend. Okay. So, and I'm drinking green matcha and peppermint. No sugar because I'm off of sweetener. I'm off of sugar and only drink green tea. Okay, Tecumseh. I'm trying to find the beginning. So I think this is the front. And I have knit this twice because I knit it and I started out, I misread one line on the, there's short rows on the back here. Like you can tell, you know, the distance from here to here versus the distance from there to there. So there's short rows on the back, and I misread it and only did them like half the width they were supposed to be the first time, which at that point I was like, okay, what, you know, I'll just move on. But then I was knitting it because I wanted it to be really oversized. So I was knitting a medium, and then I started noticing, like, because so many people are knitting the Tecumseh, or have, I'm behind, they, the smalls still looked very oversized enough. And I think it was Rachel from Hey Sister podcast. She showed hers. Might have been Christmas time. I don't remember, but she showed hers, and it was a small, and it had like the perfect fit. It looked really good on her, and especially since January, because of the being off of sugar. I found out I can't have dairy. I did a food sensitivity test, and so I can't have dairy or yeast, which is surprisingly hard. But what was I going to say about that? Oh, I've lost 12 pounds now, and I didn't really need to lose weight, but I can't lose too much more. I'm going to get too skinny. And anyways, I realized I needed the size not to be too, like a small would be fine, because the sweater is oversized in itself. So I ripped it. I think exactly to this point, like I had knitted that far in a size medium, and then I ripped it completely back, and then I started over and I knit, I think I put it in my notes on my Ravelry page, but I want to say I knit a large neckline. Like I cast on for the large, and then like there's, you know, you continue to increase, and so I only, before this next, I don't remember, but I increased only up to the small number of stitches that I would need for a small, if that makes any sense. And then I did my short rows the right way this time, and then I'm sorry if I keep looking in the wrong spot. I keep forgetting which way the end of the camera lens is on, and so I keep whatever. So I am using Knitpicks Merino Style DK, and it's just undyed bare, very soft, and I'm on my second ball of it, so when it's all wound up, I just hand wind, and then I for like the goldy orange color, I got their Capra DK in Tansy Heather, and it's not the color that I was expecting when I looked online, but it looks good in the sweater. Like, I'm fine with it on here. I was wanting more of like a gold, and it's kind of orangey, but it's like a gold orange in person, not on there. I don't think anything on there is like showing up kind of really orange, but I mean, I have this here. I wanted something more like that. I chose a bad spot for lighting. I apologize. Colors are off, but anyways, so I got that, and then this gray. Okay, it's got some basket pieces on it, and these are merino and cashmere. So this part's like especially fuzzy and soft on the sweater, and then not as much. There's a pretty good halo on it though, but I'm excited. It's gonna, at this rate, like, I've picked this up. Color work is not, I find color work very easy to do, but it's usually something I do when I watch TV, and I haven't been watching TV, and because it makes me anxious, and so I haven't been knitting on this too much, but in between, whenever I podcast last, I knit it once, ripped it back, knit it again, but I hadn't, so it feels like I don't have much to show, but anyways, that's gonna be nice. So this will be something, obviously, I probably won't do it until next year. And honestly, I think that's it for knitting, because the only other thing I have, I started a hat, and ripped it back. Oh, I do have my it's a test knit, which this is the second one, and I haven't done the thumb, and I don't know where my other one is on this one. But I did do, this is, I don't know the name of the pattern. I'll put it here beside me, or on the screen, but it's from Bee Mandarins, and like it's, I love the little texture. See if it'll, there's like these little pearl bumps, and then this cute little broken rib, and then this like little arrow pattern, which mine didn't, on this one didn't come out as good on the second part. Like I wasn't happy with that. But this is on Quince & Co. Chickadee, I think. I'm trying to remember the name of the color. It was one I bought on like a stash bust on on a Ravelry, no, not Ravelry, on Instagram from another knitter. So, but it's got, this one doesn't have a thumb, but it's an afterthought thumb, and apparently that's not common like for mittens. So this is the large, and I don't think I have big hands, but I think I'm a tighter knitter than most, but without the thumb, I mean, it's pretty good. Or medium. I think there's a small and a medium. This is the medium. So, I did knit these, and the other one, I don't know where it's at. It's probably in the, I have a drawer in my dresser where I put all my knits, and it's probably in there because I just have the thumb to finish on this one. And then that's it, because I have not done any more. I had taken on my sweater weather sock, I had taken it off the needles and put it on some waste yarn to use the needles for the mitten, and then I went ahead and put them back on here, and so now I'm ready to start back on this. But I haven't worked on any of my socks, so that's okay. So that is it for knitting. So next I will share sewing. For my sewing projects, I have I don't know how to show these. A couple of dresses. This is the geranium dress pattern, and then which I've made up like 3 or 4 dresses, maybe a little more, maybe 6. I'm trying to think, but I've made several, because I made like 2 years ago 2 with some major modifications. I think right after she came out with the expansion pack, like comes with different sleeve options, because the original just has like a little cap sleeve or sleeveless or a flutter. And I've done, oh yeah, I did a couple with a flutter sleeve and did some like color blocking, and it's got the cute little empire waist. But the expansion pack comes with like long sleeve, short sleeve, half sleeve, gathered or just fitted, and you can like lower the length of the bodice, and also it's like, I mean, I've seen other patterns for little girls that I do like, but that one to me is just, especially when she did the expansion pack, because she did a Peter Pan collar, which I love Peter Pan collars, and so when she did that, I don't know, made by Ray, that's what's fun. But so I made this one, which I shared on my Instagram. I did share this one, and I used Sarah, I can't remember her full name or her account name, but I'll put it here. I used her fabric, the tiger, I cannot think, the snake plant, and I've made, this is one that the fabric I have is for my bags, but I wanted to use it for this. So it's a cotton linen blend, and I did an overly gathered waistline, so I cut it with the fabric, and I did an extra long skirt. So my daughter is 4, she just turned 4 in October, and she's probably wearing like she fits 4s comfortably, but it's like for dresses they always seem to be a little short on her, and I don't like for her to bend over and her gauchy showing. So they I wanted this to have like a little more length on it, but it is a little big on her. So and I didn't want a 3/4 sleeve or a short sleeve, so I just did it. I tried it on her and kept adjusting it until it was like just at her elbow. I wanted a half sleeve. And then I just used the cam snaps on the back because it has the option for a zipper or buttons or other snaps, but these are so easy and quick. So I just put some snaps on there. That's the back and the front. But isn't it just darling? Like, if this was in my size, and if this fell at the right point, like at my natural waist, I would wear it. So there's that one. And then I actually made this exact dress in a tiny baby size, 3 months for my youngest, and I still had the fabric left over. And while I was making the other dress, Penny saw this fabric and she's like, "Ooh, I want the silverware." I want the spoon dress, she said. So I like barely had enough, so I couldn't do any sleeves on it. So I made it a tiny bit big so she can wear it for sure like all summer. But like it even, I had to like show some of the selvage edge on the lining on the inside. But I mean, it's such a cute pattern. I always, on little dresses, I do French seams. I think it's cleaner. I don't have a serger. That's something I really, really, really want to get. And I just love this, I don't know what you call this kind of seam on the back. Flat lay seam, maybe? Something. But then again, I just used cam snaps on the back. And I did not have enough fabric, so I cut this the regular width. So regular width, you know, you can tell it's not as gathered. And I did do the bodice extension. And then I think that's it. It's just a sleeveless little simple little dress. So that was for Penny, and I made those, I want to say, in like a day and a half. An interrupted day and a half because I have 3 kids around all the time, so start and stopping a lot. And then another day, around, I think it was right after I finished those, I was like, okay, kind of was like a sewing streak. So I had bought the gypsum skirt from So Liberated last year or the year before. I'll say last year, I don't know. I bought it, and I have got the hinterland dress pattern, and I'd even cut out most of the skirt pieces, and then just never had gotten around to it. So I bought this fabric then at the same time, so I don't remember even what it is or where I got it from, but it's like a rusty orange, and oh, I don't know if I can show the skirt fully. I still have to take like a modeled picture, but I did show this like briefly on an Insta story. But she's got these great big giant pockets, and I want to say the skirt itself, it's simple to make, but I enjoyed the construction of it, and I think that's partly because I'm still new to like garment piecing. The pockets were so fun, like how you put them together, and how like on this side it's like a nice covered seam, but then on this side there's nothing showing. I just find that, I was like, man, it's a little tricky, not tricky, sneaky stuff to make it oh so awesome. And like, I can't wait to wear the skirt. I want to make some in like this is very similar. It's probably a linen blend, but it's similar to feel to the cotton linen, the snake plant dress. So it's kind of medium weight, which will be fine for summer. Like, it's not going to be, but I kind of want to make some better. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what feel. Lighter, like a chambray, something. Not chambray, maybe. But anyways, I want to wear something like around the house because I just feel like I want to put stuff in the pockets. I don't know. But it came out so good. I've never done an elastic waist, and that turned out fine. And the length is perfect. I had to go in between sizes because I didn't know. I have a tendency that, like, I don't know what shape you call it. Sounds like it would be a pear, but I don't feel like my bottom is that large. But if you know, that's where my size is. Like, I have to wear, I think it's like a 6 on the bottom, but if you didn't take into account that, like, my top is quite slender, like bone wise, I guess, I don't know. So I have a difficulty, like, with jeans, if they're not high-waisted jeans, which is now what I just wear all the time because that's my favorite, because it fixes the problem. But always before, it would, like, if it was to fit my bottom, then the waist would gape, or with skirts the same way, like, unless they fit my natural waist just right, I can't wear, I prefer a skirt with kind of like an A-line shape just because of that, because then I can kind of like scrunch on the waist and then allow for my booty. And so I had to go a little bit tighter on the waist than I expected, but it's elastic, so you can do that. So anyways, the gypsum skirt by So Liberated. So those are my sewing projects. And then I have a friend, I have never met her in person. We have a mutual best friend and but we've talked a lot, and we're surprisingly close for that fact of having not even met. We have a lot of things in common, and she's extremely generous and so sweet. So she loaned me a large stack of patterns for me to trace my size in. So I bought some Swedish tracing paper, and I'm going to, which reminds me I need to do that because she sent him like a week ago. And anyways, I have lots of sewing, like, I'm excited, like, looking forward to doing because of it now for myself, which I have to buy fabric and figure that all out, but it'll be fun. So those are my sewing projects, and I don't really have anything like specific. I was thinking of like dream sewing, things I'm looking forward to making, but just those. Some of them are from Grainline Studio, others are Merchant Mills, several dresses, the willow tank. I am so excited. I want to make like 5 of those for summer, and because I think like a willow tank that's slightly cropped would be so cute with this, and then another one that's longer that could be tucked. But anyway, so that's my sewing. Oh, I don't know what audience is here that isn't or is on Instagram that follows me there and on here, but on Instagram I had a couple times, like, I'll have a question and I'm like, well, I have a fair number of followers, I'll ask the question and see, you know, if I get some help with something. And so everyone's always so kind and they'll respond back. And every year I make a photo book. I've got, ever since my son was born. So I started with him when I was pregnant with him, and I would write letters. Like a friend of mine took pictures of me every week, and then I would write a letter to him, and I would email it to her, and then she would edit it and edit the picture and put the letter on the picture. So I made a book of, says like Dear Bean or Letters to Bean or something, and I printed 2 of them, so I'd have one to save and then one to give him. He was my first, of course, so I did not do it with my second or my third. I did take pictures weekly. I kept that up. And I want to say with my third, I did do letters, but I have not even made those books, and they are now 4 and almost 3. But every year, the previous year, I keep all the photos organized, and I used to do it on my computer, and now I just do it on the cloud. And I printed a photo book, and the company I used to use went out of business, I don't remember what year. I mean, recently. But I was so upset because Shutterfly bought them out, and I've never used Shutterfly except for just ordering prints, and their photo books might be fine, but I'd seen like other photo books sometimes from like the ones that are like that you don't really design, but they're supposed to be easy, that they'll just take ones off of your Instagram, and they're not always as, I don't know, I feel like I want these to stand, because I don't sit and just go on my cloud and look at pictures. The kids don't, or maybe they might one day, but this is a nice way. It's like a photo album. And so I keep everything, like when my son first learned to write his name, and his first like picture that actually looked like a picture, drew a rhino, and him and his best friend, and I don't know, I just do like silly shots of the kids doing this. This is Elsie, so the youngest, which she's almost 3, but her sucking her hand, like she used to suck the middle 2 fingers, and her with her bunny that her grandma Stacy made her. Woo. And they had like nice hard covers, and so I was trying, anyways, all of that. I wanted to find another company. I put the question out there, and I got a ton of suggestions. Some of them, the companies, like, they looked super nice, but it was like you had to know how to use Photoshop or some other kind of program to design, I don't know, a JPEG pictures. I don't know, something like to send in. It confused me because my publisher was just they had a program that you downloaded onto your computer, and you could just drag and drop pictures into a basic layout, adjust stuff as you needed, add pages, add pictures. It was really easy. So I wanted something similar, and several people, but especially, I can't remember her names, but she suggested Mixbook, and I had actually been looking at their website before, like I think a year ago, and I'm a year behind on making the books because of last year. Last year was my first year with anxiety, and it kind of, I don't know, threw me for a loop. So I just got it done, and I think I showed pictures on Instagram a little bit on my stories, but it came out so nice. It's so thick. Like, I think it's because the pages are really thick, but it's like got this gorgeous kind of matte cover. It's super heavy duty, and the price was comparable to, like, I think these would cost anywhere. These pages are slightly smaller or thinner. Like they're more like shiny gloss photo paper, and then these feel like, I don't know, like almost like thicker cardboard paper. It's so cute, but like the pictures turned out so good, and this format was similar to how you could design, like, I mean, you could do big full-size pictures, and every year I always do, so I'll put like our trips in it, so like we go to an aquarium. I always put a sleeping page where everyone's sleeping, because I always seem to I love taking pictures of kids sleeping. I hope that's not creepy, but that's what I like to do. But I take, because I end up taking all my pictures for Instagram of my knits. I started a few years ago including them in my books, so that way I could kind of look and be like, okay, so for 2017, this is what I made. So I've got my makes in there, all my knits, and I knit several of these sweaters, antler cardigan, and then bloomers, and mittens for myself, which these are favorites, and I love this cowl. This one is from La Reserve Design. Can't remember that pattern. From Pearl Soho, the newsprint cowl, and then a I made my daughter like a little bag and this little Shop Wixton bonnet. Anyways, so then family pictures. But anyway, so if you want to make a photo book, check out Mixbook and just sign up for their email, and they send coupons all the time. So that was something I had liked about my publisher. That is, you could work on the book like, you know, however long you needed to, and then save your book. Like it's just, you can, when you're finished, it can just be on there, and then wait for a good coupon and you can get it. So it really, I made this in one day, like just a few hours, like maybe 4 hours in an evening working at the computer. And that day it was super helpful to sit and do that because I was having like a mild anxiety day, and this was really distracting, which was good. So that is it that I have for that, and I'll share some step back from a lot of stuff and just focus on priorities, things that are important, which my family, I homeschool my son, he's just in kindergarten, you know, I keep my girls, all my kids stay home with me, and really, like, that's my number one job, is taking care of them. So instead of, and well, I'll get into my health, like some of that stuff later, but in a minute. But so with my shop, I seriously contemplating just quitting, especially when taxes came, and I was really nervous about what it was gonna cost me. And I kept very good records, thankfully, and used QuickBooks, and it was my first time having to do it all on my own, but it was fine, and it didn't turn out bad, and it's like, okay. So, but it is weird because I had looked throughout the year to see what I had, like, you know, what your revenue versus actual profit, but once I actually had, because I hadn't scanned in like all my receipts or calculated, because some things really don't, they're not, like if you have a business, you know what I mean, but like it's not always an expense. Like you're gonna spend that probably anyways on some things. I don't know. But it's a deduction. But still, anyways, so like full, like just across the board profit. It wasn't, my business wasn't as much as I had like had thought it was earlier in the year or the previous year, and so I was like a little disappointed, and I thought, for the stress and the but I had bought a lot of fabric ahead of time. Like I have a lot, and materials, and so like right now I could make, I only have a little bit, I think I just have to buy the canvas for the interior, and so I can make quite a bit still and not have to, like it'd all just be profit right now. And so then I thought, well, maybe I'll just have the business for half the year, and this will be my last year, and I don't know, like I feel like anxiety has taught me that I'm still figuring a lot of stuff out. I did not know, well, maybe this will just be the section on anxiety and shop, because it's not a lot to say about the shop, but so I'll edit that in. But I've decided to not to decide right now, and I don't have anything in the store at all right now, but I have decided to pretty much stop taking pre-orders, because that's kind of how I ran my business all of last year, and it's kind of how I had to, because I didn't have the money to invest in all of the stuff that I would need to make the products first. And anyways, I would put pre-orders up, and it was nice because I could just make what I knew people actually, you know, make it to their order. But it's a lot more stressful that way, because then you're working on deadlines, and I would try to allow myself time between you know, when they would order to when I could reasonably get it out, counting in all the, you know, homeschooling with my son and being at home with the kids and what limited time I would have to sew. But it was still a lot of added stress, and I've learned I don't handle stress well, and especially not the way that I managed it in the last like 3 or 4 years. Not my business, but my stress. So I'm going to just do ready-made bags. So I will make things up ahead of time and then announce when I have enough for a shop update, or I'll probably do it that way. And then sometimes I might just put some things in the shop and let you know that there's a handful of these or a handful of that, and I gotta kind of figure out what will work. So every time I make the larger bags with the pockets and the zipper bags, I save all of my little scraps. And so I've got so much fabric even of that just to make the petal pouches and the little minnow ones, and I've got leather to make the little notion pouches, and I had designed, I mean, to me it's not a hard, like a crazy thing, it's not like revolutionary, but I love having it. Just like a smaller or a larger notions pouch, because the other ones are like this big and I put stitch markers in them. But this is nice because I then put like my stitch marker holder in there and my little ruler or needle gauge and my cabling needle, and it's leather, it smells good. And I might make some of these and put them in the shop, I don't know, but I'll do ready-made stuff and list it because I still enjoy doing that, and it is an extra source of income regardless of what I expected it to be, the amount or not. But yeah, so I'm gonna keep the shop open for now and work on it, just adjust the way I do it. And I've had to learn work-life balance because it's difficult when you do work from home, especially when you're home full-time, and it kind of feels sometimes like you have to, it's like I'm home, I could technically be sewing at any of these points, but I'm also like I'm watching my children and I can't, I don't know. So that's hopefully gonna work a little bit better for me. I don't, not to be selfish. I hope it works good for you guys too, because then you can buy it and it will ship out next day. Like I was gonna say like 2 or 3 days. It probably will ship next day because I'm home. But if something happens and I wasn't home that day, then it'll ship out the next day. So you don't have to wait. Like buy it and it'll be on its way to you. So that's shop news. To talk about anxiety, I have been kind of from the get-go pretty honest about working through it. Last year I had my first panic attack in February, and it was after we had after winter or during winter, we just gone through like a month of dealing with the flu, and then everyone had it, then I had it, and I just had I was like just about finished weaning my youngest, who was not quite, she was like almost 2, and so it was a pretty hold on, I'm gonna like, now the sun moved and I want it to be a little brighter in here, so 1 second. Okay, maybe that's better, I don't know. Let's see, what was I saying? Oh, so I had my first panic attack, and it was an out of nowhere kind of thing. It was actually on a day off where my husband was watching the kids and I was supposed to have the morning to myself, and I went to the library and was going to knit, but nothing kind of went right. Like, and this is what I've learned about myself just this year, that I am a control freak. I have perfectionist tendencies. I expect a lot of myself, and it's hard for me to, like, I could probably have been classified like a workaholic, but I enjoyed it. Like, I loved it, but then also it stressed me to no end when things didn't go just like I thought they should. So if I had time off, I felt like the time needed to, like, this is my time to relax. Like, it has to be perfect. Everything has to go just like I want it to, or when will I get this time again? And like an afternoon like this when I didn't have the kids, and it's still a little bit like, I'm like, what will be the best use of my time? Like, should I take a nap? Should I just watch TV and knit? Should I clean like the house, like really good, because I love cleaning, and I would work myself up because I don't know. And then the time would go by, and the kids would get back, and I was like, I barely got to do anything. And so that was, and the other thing, I love being a mom, but I realized that my view of certain things would be very negative. So I wanted to get the kids in bed. They've always had a structured bedtime, but sorry, I feel like my tea's making me burp. Sorry. I wanted to get them into bed at their bedtime, especially when they were a lot smaller, like before they really, so not like in the last year, but like before that. And you know how it is when you're putting little kids down, and depends on the child. Like, sometimes they go right down, and other times because I've always had one that she'll just fall asleep like whenever I want her to, and then the other ones, they always stall, or they need you to lay with them, or they want to, like the littlest one always wanted nurse to sleep, or no, that was my oldest one. Anyways, I mean, when he was the only one, when he was little. And I always felt like I had to be away from the kids to have time for myself, and I never, I always felt like things should be, like I should feel this way, and how I should always have dinner planned, I should always have, and it's not even something like I would necessarily have vocalized, or if, you know, you pointed it out, like, do you feel like this? I'm like, no, I don't think so. Like, because I would have great, like, I would overall be very happy, but I'm not a depressed person. I'm a morning person. I open, like, as soon as I'm up with the sun, I open the curtains, you know, I'm ready to start the day. But if the weather wasn't just right, then I would be like all bummed. Like, that would just set me off. So I also had my children very close together, so because they are right now 6, 4, and then almost 3, and so I was either breastfeeding or nursing. And I may have said this in another podcast, and if I did, let's just say we're recapping. Fast forward, don't watch it, I don't know. But so I was either pregnant or breastfeeding for almost 6 years. And then I've learned recently that birth control pills, they affect your body's, your natural hormone balance. Like, your body's not producing hormones on its own. And so I was on birth control for about 13 years because I'd always kind of had really strong PMS and then a really rough period. And so before we had kids, I was on birth control pills, and then I was pregnant or breastfeeding and not handling stress well. So, like, now I've learned so much about adrenaline and cortisol, and, you know, each of your separate hormones, DHEA, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, and the roles they play, and how diet plays, and lifestyle, and this has all been like in the last month, because last year I did not face my anxiety at all, because it terrified me. Because it was, I mean, my face would go numb and my legs would go numb, and I was having just uncontrolled panic attacks. And at first they just diagnosed me with PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which means you just have PMS from hell. But I don't think I have that. I think I've not had this diagnosed by a doctor, like my primary, but I do have a naturopath doctor, and then I've talked to, I have a counselor now, and we've kind of like, the way my life was going leading up to that point, I probably had adrenal fatigue, or was close to that, where my body was just not managing stress well. And I've learned more about my genetics. I had a 23andMe test done, and then was able to run it through some different, I don't know, this is where it gets like complicated, but anyways, my brain does not metabolize or methylate those excitatory neurotransmitters well, adrenaline and dopamine. And even though dopamine's a good one, like, I still more, excited. So if I'm not finding ways to de-stress, like other ways, my body's not, like, it stays in that mode. And it's like my thinking has been unhealthy. My thinking has very subtly been unhealthy and hurting me. So I am trying to, I keep a gratitude journal now, and so every night before bed I write down 5 things that I'm thankful for. I am learning to meditate, which just has been in the last couple days, so I'm still, but I've had about a month and a half of fairly severe anxiety, where I've only had maybe 2 days without anxiety, and I was kind of terrified that I was going to have to go, like last year I just medicated. I went to the doctor, they gave me, and that's, if some of you have anxiety and that's how you've dealt with it, but you have quality of life afterwards, then that is, great, and that's your choice. I didn't have quality of life while I was medicated. I didn't have any depression, and I got put on antidepressants, and I became severely depressed. At points, I never felt suicidal, but I didn't want to do it anymore. Like, I was just done. I just felt like there was nothing left of me. The antidepressants made me lose my joy in all hobbies. Like, maybe it tamed down the anxiety slightly. I didn't notice that it did, but it felt like it tamed down the other parts of me. I had extreme ups and downs, and was still having to go back to the doctor and get my anxiety medication increased, the dosage increased. And then they were treating it for PMDD, and so they ended up putting me on a birth control pill, and I had like a couple weeks of like relief, and then it came completely back. So, which now that I've learned about hormone balance and what you are like when your hormones are out of balance, birth control was like the worst thing. And so in the fall I got a naturopathic doctor, and she has been really helpful in helping me learn about my genes, my nutrition, like adjusting my supplements to support my needs. And then I started studying about, I want to say mental health, but even just like your thinking. And that has been extremely helpful, because I could notice a change. I could quiet my thoughts, because I had several weeks in January where my brain wouldn't, like in the evenings, it's always worse in the evenings, but my brain wouldn't settle. And I was so worried. Like I have this crazy fear of something happening, like I don't handle blood well, and so I faint. And so in my head, like, what if one of the kids get hurt really bad, and then I faint, and then I'm like, they're little, like, how are they going to know to get somebody, and we live in a rural area, but I mean, not that that couldn't happen, but I've been a parent for 6 years, and we have had several emergencies and I got through them. But I just feel like physically I feel so much weaker right now, and that I don't know, because 2 of my pretty severe panic attacks happened after one of the kids got hurt, including the one in January, and it was the tiniest thing. My daughter stepped on a tiny piece of, you know, if someone breaks a glass and there's like a piece that gets away and you can't, so she stepped on a tiny little piece and barely bled, but she fainted over the whole thing. She's a fainter like me, and so she fainted, and then seeing her like that with her face all pale and no color in her lips, it just triggered. And it was the day before, my anxiety is always worse right before my period. It was the day before my period, and so like my anxiety, it was like a switch got flipped and then I could not turn it back off. And for about 2-3 weeks I was terrified that I was going to have to deal with the whole thing that we did last year all over again, because I felt like I was improving. But because I felt like I was improving, I had stopped a few things that were helping my hormones, and I didn't really make that full connection. And so I do now, and I'm back on them, and sleeping good, taking lots of magnesium. I exercise every day. I either do light, and it's always light though, because in case I do have adrenal fatigue, I want to make sure my body isn't overworked. And so this plant keeps hitting my head, sorry. So I either do like light at home workouts, or I walk, and I'm off sugar, probably like, I was off sugar for pretty severely, I mean like completely cut out for about a month. And I've always loved sugar, loved it. Love baked goods, cookies, cakes, love it. Candy of all kinds. But when my anxiety was so severe for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, I couldn't eat at all. And it helped me get rid of my sugar dragon, I think some people call it. So I have just stayed off of it, because I know when you have anxiety, it's a good idea to avoid caffeine and sugar. And I haven't, aside from green tea, I haven't drank any caffeine since last February, except for, I think, some chai tea. So maybe some black tea. Black tea. That's it. I promise. And this is the thing, I overthink it. So I always probably have done some of these things severely, because again, I still expect a lot of myself, and I'm trying really hard on that, to change my thinking. But I know, whatever the case, whatever got me here, it took time, probably several years, because it's been since I had kids, and then it's going to take time to heal. And this is the first time this year, in the last month, that I've said this, I faced my anxiety, and I'm not on an antidepressant anymore. I got off that last year, but I still have had to use my anti-anxiety meds as needed. And my goal is, because right now except for today and yesterday, I have had anxiety pretty much every day since January. And it's, even if I'm performing like normal tasks, making dinner, taking care of the kids, taking them to the doctor because they've been sick, the anxiety is like always there, and it scares me, because I'm like, if anything happens that's a little too much, I don't know how I'm going to handle it right now, because I feel like I'm on this, like, walking this narrow ledge. But I have a couple appointments next week, one with a psychologist, because I'm going to hopefully learn some cognitive behavioral therapy to help change my thinking. I've been doing a lot of reading about that, and I'm hopeful. And I just learned about Vedic meditation, which is not clearing your mind. It's not being in a quiet place. You don't have to worry about any of those things. It's for people with busy lives. It's kind of a more modern thing, but it allows your body to still get into that. It allows your body to de-stress and to completely relax. And they recommend you do it like twice a day. I'm still learning. I would spend 2 days, so I'm still really learning. But, and it's not, I mean, in any way, because I'm a religious person. I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I've said that on other podcasts. So I try to steer away from things that sometimes in the holistic world, there's things that kind of get a little woo-woo. And for me, that's what I don't want to mess with it. So, I mean, but in the Bible, it talks about meditating on things, and sometimes you, there's different, you know, descriptions or definitions of meditation. But this has been really helpful so far in just, because my mind, it feels like it doesn't shut off. This allows me to, like, you can still just be thinking whatever, but you just kind of, well, it's one start of it is mindfulness, which is just allows you to only focus on the present. Don't think about the future or the past. You just focus on the present, and you just kind of keep bringing yourself back to, you know, and then pretty soon, like, your mind just quiets down and you feel, sometimes I almost fall asleep. And I do it for like 15-20 minutes twice a day, and I've noticed just yesterday and today, it's like getting to sit down in a chair if I was a robot, an electric car, but just plugging myself in and I chill out. And instead of, because it's a lot of times like what I would feel like after I nap. Like you get when I go on those good naps, you wake up, you're like, oh, I'm ready for everything. But then usually you're kind of like too chilled out after. Or I am. And I've always been, I'm too busy to nap. I'm too busy. I've got too much to do. And even things I want, like, that I enjoy, it's a stress then, because I'm like putting it as a have to. And so I'm like, I have a limit. That's why I haven't been knitting. I haven't been watching TV. I've been keeping my obligations to a bare minimum, and then trying to find joy and gratitude in very small things, and learning to deep breathe, to like lower my cortisol levels, working on balancing my hormones, and slowly. So this is the first, yesterday was a good day and today's a good day. Yesterday I had a good day and it was cloudy out. I don't think I've had a good day when it's been cloudy out. I also got a sun lamp, a little, you turn it on in the morning to help your circadian rhythm to get back in, which I crave the sun. It feels like I just want, it feels like it's what makes me happy. And winter, I hate when I see like it start, like it's only, what time is it? 3:49, and it's already like to that point in the sky. I'm like, no, come back. So, anyways, those are the things that I've been doing. I don't know quite, I don't want to be like I was before, because that's what stressed me out. So going forward, I don't know how active I'll be on Instagram, but I'll be around. I'm still here. So I recently got to 2,500 followers on Instagram. So to me that's huge, because I remember when I got to 200 and I was so excited. And yeah, so I wanted to do something for that, but then all of this happened, so I haven't. And then I think I'm at over 300 followers on YouTube, which I do not understand, because I'm like, I'm such a bad podcaster. I don't do it with a good frequency. I ramble, but I don't know. So I don't know. I'm very thankful. I'll put that in my gratitude journal tonight. My support from those on the interweb. And I think that's it, though. If you guys, I mean, feel free please to put any comment on the video, comment on anxiety, direct message me on Instagram. I still always get those. I'm around. I just I'm a little quieter and kind of in the background for a little while. So anyways, this is the end. Thank you for watching. Again, you can find me on Instagram at woollybean, woolly.bean, and you can find my shop, woollybean.com, and then I am on Ravelry, which I don't remember my username. I don't know if it's still jjdoucet or if I changed it to woollybean, but I'll put it here. So thank you guys. Thank you for watching.